What it do, YouTube? What the business is? I know y'all miss me, but don't worry about it. We're going to get right back into it. Now, let's take a real quick trip into Canada, and let's touch on a chapter of the Hells Angels that they have out there, and touch on the most notorious hitman, the notorious Hells Angels member who was responsible for over 43 murders. Now, in the 2004 trial, a judge looked over at Yves Apache Trudeau and said, "You have killed more people than the Canadian military in the Gulf War." Now, this is the crazy story of a Hells Angels biker who was also a hitman for the Hells Angels. Apache's early life was tainted by his father's abuse and military-mannered ways. As a teenager in the early 60s, he worked with explosives, which would later hold value during his murderous days. Dealing with explosives earned him the nickname the Mad Bomber. He started the first biker gang in Quebec called the Popeyes, which became the first Canadian chapter of the Hells Angels in 1977. Apache was the first Canadian Hells Angels member to receive the Hells Angels Filthy Few title, which was dedicated to those who were ready to kill for the club. In 1979, Apache started the Hells Angels Graveyard Group from his Laval chapter. They started a gruesome killing spree against other clubs and gangs in Montreal, dumping all of their bodies into the St. Lawrence River. The Hells Angels had 3 strict rules that were no rape, no drugs by injection, and no swindling, which Apache and his chapter broke all 3 rules. One of Apache's first victims was Charlie Hatches, a Hells Angels member who was always high and owed Frank Dooney Ryan over $145,000 in a drug debt. Dennis Kennedy was the second Hells Angels member to be murdered by Apache after he was voted out as problematic. After Dooney was killed, Apache and Mike, who were always partnered on hits, were assigned a contract for retaliation of their leader. Apache planted 16 kilos of C4 plastic explosives and a timing mechanism set for 30 minutes and a TV set detonated for an apartment of Paul April. Now, Paul April and 3 of his friends were snorting cocaine while waiting on a new entertainment center when a bomb was detonated, going off and killing all 4 of them. That same year, he planted a bomb in a sports car of a man who had a feud with the owners of a strip club. Apache took hits from almost anyone. Gangs, other clubs, it didn't matter. He was loyal to the Hells Angels, so it didn't matter if he was a Hells Angels or not. He was taking on the hit as long as you were paying. Now, on March 24th, 1985, 8 of the highest-ranking Hells Angels members were called to a mandatory meeting. Apache couldn't attend the meeting because he was in rehab for his addiction. You know, it's a good thing that he didn't show, because 7 of those 8 were killed, and the 8th person was supposed to be Apache. After hearing about his $50,000 hit placed on his head after not showing to the meeting where 7 of his other members were killed, he claims he was good as dead already, so he went to the police. You know, he was the first Hells Angels member to become an informant. He exchanged information in trades of a lighter sentence. He confessed to being a part of 43 murders. He committed 29 of those murders on his own. In over a 15-year span, he killed 10 with bombs and the rest he did with guns. He took part in 3 murders that were carried out with a baseball bat, and 1 murder he strangled to death. He was sentenced to life for 43 counts of manslaughter, which he provided information on 100 murders and helped implicate 80 Hells Angels members that led to 20 arrests. In 1994, he was granted parole and was given a new identity. He was arrested in 2004 for sexual assault on a young boy. He was given 4 years for that charge. Apache was only 5'6" and weighed 130 pounds soaking wet, but he was very feared and very dangerous. His addiction to cocaine is said to be his downfall. It led to other members feeling they couldn't trust him because of his violent and reckless behavior and excessive drug use. Jean Marie Ville was shot to death in 1970 after he stole a motorcycle from the club. He was said to be Apache's first actual murder. A grandmother was killed in 1980 for trying to help her son. Her son was an ex-Hells Angels member. Apache beat her to death and then killed her son and his girlfriend. All three of those bodies were dumped into the St. Lawrence River. An Outlaws member, Donald McLean, and his girlfriend Carmen were blown up in May of 1980 when a bomb was attached to his Harley went off, and that bomb was placed by none other than Apache. In October of 1981, a West End gang member was blown up when a bomb that was attached to his Mercedes-Benz went off. Apache said the hit came from another West End gang leader named Dooney, who he had previously done hits for in the past. Now, in 1983, the brother-in-law of a reputed mob boss, Frank Catroni, was gunned down by Apache. He was given permission from the Montreal Mafia to do so. In other words, this wasn't a hit that came from the Montreal Mafia. This was something that Apache wanted to do in his regards of him having to have that done as far as killing the reputed mob boss. So what did Apache do? A Hells Angels member? He went to the mafia of who this man was from and asked permission to kill that mob boss. Now, that is a big no-no, especially within America, within all the 5 families, within any family within the Italian mafia. Nobody that is not a made man can have anybody that is a made man whacked. And Apache so happened to do that. Now, Apache once killed a Hells Angels member because he planned to kidnap another Hells Angels member's kids. The Hells Angels took $46,000 and Apache's motorcycle from him after he was released from jail. They said they would give it back to him if he killed 2 people for them. He ended up killing 1 people and stuffing the body of him in his car. The Angels felt that they was good enough for them, so they ended up giving his motorcycle back and his money back. You know, it just shows you how the Angels kind of had him by his toes. You know, they were sending him out to kill and kill and kill, and little did he know, he thought he was being put into use as somebody that was special to the club, but little did he know he was just a send-out. Because for him to be sent out on so many missions and so many murders to continuously kill people, and when it came for them on how they treated him, you know, they just took his motorcycle, took his money like it was nothing, and kind of bribed him and told him, blackmailed him in a way that, man, if you don't kill these 2 more people, we not giving you nothing back. As a matter of fact, if you don't kill 2 of these people, little do you know, we gonna kill you. So for them to play with him like that, man, just shows you that he was nothing but a send out for the club. You know, he meant nothing to them, you know.